In this lesson, we will learn to write in the equation of a circle when it exists on a coordinate plane. Just to make sure that we are all clear and talking the same way, the center of a circle is the point that is the same distance from every point on the circle. If I ask everybody to stand in a circle and I stand in the middle, you are all the same distance, equidistant, same distance away from me. That's what it means to be in the center of the circle. A radius is the distance from the center of the circle to a point on the circle, any point on the circle, so there are infinitely many radii around the circle. And the diameter is the distance across the circle passing through the center. The diameter is twice the radius. So the equation for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared, with a center of h and k. So these are the center of the circle, and r is the radius, so the radius squared. So let's just drop back for just a second. 3 squared is equal to 9. So r would be 3. 4 squared would be equal to 16, so r would be 4. And so r is actually the number that you would put. We would actually simplify it, so you might have to take the square root. The square root of 25 is equal to 5. The square root of 36 is equal to 6, and so on. Okay, now notice that standard with the equation are these minus signs, and so that kind of creates a little bit of a confusion, but you'll find that there are patterns that you can follow for when you want to write the equation of a circle. So first we're going to start with, I'm going to give you the equation of a circle, and we're going to find the center and the radius. So if you're given this equation, remember that the minus comes standard. So it is x minus h plus, and then that's squared, and then y minus k squared equals r squared. So that's our equation. So the problem is that's a plus sign. So technically what that means is this is y minus, because we need that minus sign, a negative 11. So that is the same thing with that minus sign. We have our x minus 3, and we have our y minus now a negative 11, and then we have our r squared. R squared is 16. Okay, that's not what r is, that's what r squared is. So my center is at h and k. H always goes with the x, y always is with the k, and so it doesn't matter what order these are written in, that is what it will whether this is y minus something or x minus something, this is the order that it will always be in. X goes with h and y goes with k. So my center is going to be, my h is actually 3, okay, and my k is negative 11, and my radius is r squared is 16, so r is the square root of 16, which is 4. Now, let me point out something that will help maybe a little bit. Notice that this is positive 3, and this looks like negative 3. This is negative 11, and this right here is positive 11. So one of the things you could do is you could think of it, if you want to include the sign in front of it, you could say, well, it comes out as the opposite. So if it's in the equation as negative, it comes out as the opposite. The reason that it does is because the minus sign comes standard with the problem. So actually, if you cover up the minus sign that came standard with the problem, then that 3 is positive. That's why that is positive. This plus 11 actually is y minus a negative 11, and so if you cover up the negative sign that comes standard with the problem, then it is negative 11. Okay, so whichever way you want to remember it is kind of up to you. Okay, so let's look at the next one. Now notice that this doesn't have, there's no x minus h, there's no x minus anything. That means that it's 0. Okay, so it would be 0 is my h, and then this is minus 5. Well, remember the minus comes standard with the problem, so you can cover up the minus, and so your k will be a positive 5. Or if you want to look at it, that's a negative 5, so it comes out as a positive 5. Now this is r squared. Remember that r squared is 36. R squared is 36. I don't want to know r squared. I want to know r. So I take the square root of both sides and I get the square root of 36 is 6. And then this last one, notice I don't have h and I don't have k. There is no minus anything, or there is no x minus, there's nothing in parentheses. So it is understood, and it is, so actually what is happening, and we don't have to write it, is that x or h and k are both zeros. So it centers at 0, 0. R squared is 81. R squared is 81. That's not what R is. My radius is actually the square root of 81, so the radius is 9. Okay, so now let's do the same thing, but now let's actually get some practice in graphing it. So we need to find our center. In order to graph it, we need to know the center and we need to know the radius. Those are the two things you need to be able to put it on a grid. So we need our center. Remember, it's x minus h is standard, so if you cover it up, it's already in that format. So the center will be at 2 and 5, because that's already y minus. Okay, and then this is r squared. It's right there in the formula, right? That's r squared. So r squared is 9, which means that r has to be the square root of 9, which is 3. So my radius is 3. So then to graph it, you're going to go over 2, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're going to put our point. That's our center. Now we need a radius of 3. The easiest way to do that is horizontally and vertically. So we go over 1, 2, 3 and put a little dot. Down 1, 2, 3, back 1, 2, 3, and up 1, 2, 3. Now it's going to be the same if you go to the diagonal. That's just harder to count. You can't count a 3 in the diagonal. And then you kind of sketch in your circle as best you can. And so this would have a radius of 3 all the way around at a center of 2, 5. Okay, so we can do the same thing here. Sketch the graph of the circle whose equation is x minus 1 squared plus y plus 2 squared. Again, we need that to be x minus, right? So x minus it already is, and we need it to be y minus. So we need to make that into a minus, so we need to do that negative 2. We've already got our x minus. So our h, we need our h and k. So cover up the x minus because that comes standard with the problem. So that would be at 1. And then our y minus, cover that up, and we're left with negative 2. That's the center of our circle. 16 is r squared. So 4 squared is 16, so r has to equal 4. That's how we find out what that is, okay? So r squared is equal to 4 squared, if you need to see that, which means that r is 4. Okay, so we graph it over 1, down 2, put your center of your circle, and then do a radius of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The best circle we'll get if you at least get 4 directions. North, south, east, and west, basically, and then sketch in your circle. Don't let it look like this, right? This is not a circle. Make sure it looks kind of rounded. It doesn't have to be exact, but it needs to look something like a circle. Okay, so let's get some practice here writing the equation of a circle. We've taken the equation of a circle and gotten the center and the radius. Let's use the center and the radius to actually write the equation of a circle. So I want my center to be at the origin. Remember, that's my h and my k. And we have a radius of 8, so r is equal to 8. So if you go back to your equation, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. What we want to do is just substitute our numbers in. Now we're going to replace this and this and this, h, k, and r. Those are the things we're going to substitute in for. So we just write it exactly like it is and substitute in your h and k, and we'll simplify it later. Substitute it in first, and then we'll simplify it. So y minus k equals r was 8. So it's 8 squared. So now let's clean this up and make it pretty. X minus 0 can just be x squared plus y minus 0 can just be y squared equals 8 squared is 64. And so the equation of a circle with a radius of 8 through with a center of 0, 0 is x squared plus y squared equals 64. Okay, now write the equation of a circle with a center at negative 2. There's your h. 5, there's your k, and a radius r of 5. Again, let's start. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So I think it's helpful to write what I call a skeleton, x minus, and we're going to leave a blank for our h, and then y minus, we're going to leave a blank for our k, and we're going to do r squared. So we have, basically, we have a blank and a blank and a blank for h, k, and r that we need to fill in. So my h is -2, so I'm going to write -2. My y is 5, so I'm going to write 5. And my r is 5, so I'm going to write 5. So then we want to simplify it. We want to make it easier. We've got this double negative right here. Minus a negative is the same as plus a positive. So when we clean it up, we will write x plus 2 squared plus y minus 5 squared. Can't simplify that any better. Equals 5 squared, which is 25. And so that is the equation of the circle through that center with that radius. Okay, so that's given the radius and the center of the circle. And in these three questions, we actually still have the center and the radius of the circle. We just need to get it from the picture. So we look, we've got our center. Our center is at 3, -4. And then our radius, the easiest radius is either that one, one of the horizontal or verticals, but that is 2. Always check your scale, right? We'll get one of those over there, but this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that would be 1, 2. So the radius is 2. So we can say x minus, and then get the number 3 squared, plus y minus, because that comes standard with the problem, -4 squared equals r squared. And then we just clean it up and make it prettier. X minus 3 squared plus minus a negative y plus 4 squared equals 2 squared, which simplifies to be 4. Okay, we need our center and we need our radius. Be careful here. Notice this is 2, 4, 6. These count, each square counts 2. So we want to make sure that we are careful with that because our radius will be 2, 4, 6, not 3. Be careful with that. So our center is at 0, -4. Our radius is 6. So now we can write our equation. Just start filling in the blanks, right? X minus, then go get your h squared plus y minus a -4 squared equals r squared, right? We do the equation every time and we just fill in the blanks. Okay, simplify it. X minus 0 is just x squared. Y minus a -4 is the same as plus a positive, so y plus 4 squared is equal to 6 squared is 36. And then C, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. So our center is at -4, 3. If it doesn't have a scale, then we can assume that it is 1. We have a radius, so we need to count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So radius of 5. Okay, x minus, and then -4. Plus y minus 3 squared, it's always squared, equals r squared. And then we want to go in and simplify it and clean it up. We get x minus a negative plus a positive, so x plus 4 squared plus y minus 3 squared, can't make that any better, equals 5 squared, which is 25. Okay, so it comes down to the formula x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to r squared. And this is the part you have to be careful with, is this minus is, that subtraction is standard a part of the equation. And so that affects then how you take out or put in the center of the circle.